Hey guys, it's Paul, and today I'm doing a review of the Pixar movie, Onward. More importantly though, I hope all you guys are safe and you're healthy and you're staying quarantined so we can beat this coronavirus thing. I was at the gas station yesterday pumping some gas and I said to somebody, hey, stay safe. Instead of saying goodbye, I said, stay safe. And I thought to myself that, maybe that's the way it is. In the future, in a dystopian society where a virus is taking over the world, you don't ever say goodbye to anyone anymore. The way you say goodbye is like, hey, stay safe. If any of you guys are writers out there, you can steal that. But because of the pandemic, as you probably know, all the movie theater chains have shut down. So a lot of the studios are releasing their properties, their movies on video on demand. So last week, a couple of my friends got together and we watched this movie, rented it. I think it's around $20. This is before the quarantine happened, so probably like 5 or 6 of us got together, checked out this movie. And I'm going to be talking about this feature in terms of the point of view of a director and of a filmmaker and of a writer. I'm a big fan of Pixar projects. I really loved Up. I really liked The Incredibles. The first one was amazing. And Finding Nemo is probably one of my favorites. And this movie is kind of like Finding Nemo because, again, it's about a kid or kids trying to find their parent or dad. And that's kind of where the title comes from because it's an adventure going onward because forward and tally-ho were taken, I guess. So this whole story starts in a family of elves, and we actually don't realize they're elves till halfway through where someone says, hey, you're elves. I actually thought they were more like hobbits or trolls or gnomes or something. Elves, I had no idea that was the case. And I want you to keep what I just told you right there in mind about not getting information because it's going to come back again a few times. So there are these 2 teenage brothers. It's Ian and then there's Barley, played by Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. They do a great job. Terrific voice acting, and even the characters kind of look a little bit like them. Really good job. So Ian and Barley's father dies before the movie starts. We actually don't know why he dies, it's never told to us. But on Ian's 16th birthday, his mother comes and says, hey, your father left something for you for me to give you on your 16th birthday. And she gives him a magic staff. She then tells him that his father inexplicably just got into magic for absolutely no reason in his later life just before he died. Again, no real explanation, just we're told that's what he did, not even why he did it, just happened. The magic staff comes with this incantation, which if being said, it allows Ian and Barley to get back their father for 24 hours. So they get to spend time with their dad one more time, one last time for 24 hours. I should add to this that Barley's character is very into magic, into sort of a Dungeons and Dragons type game. But again, we're told this. We actually never see him ever play the game. But when Barley tries to do the spell to bring back his dad, it doesn't work for him. Ian, however, who's not into magic at all, tries out the incantation, and it works. But then something disastrous happens, so it doesn't quite totally work. We're not really sure why it doesn't quite totally work, it just sort of doesn't work. And instead of bringing the whole body of Ian's father back, it only brings up to the waist. So what you have is you have a disembodied waist, legs, and feet. In order to complete the spell and get the entirety of their father back for 24 hours, they need to find something called the Phoenix Gem. And that is where our journey begins in this movie. It's never really explored why magic worked for Ian and didn't work for Barley. Actually, it seems more like it should work for Barley because he's into magic. Ian shows no interest in magic at all. He just happens to be able to do it. Barley actually says, hey, some people have it and some people don't. Again, it's not really explained. From a writer's point of view, I think that this is a device to have to force people to work together. So you have somebody who has an ability and then a person who knows how to use that ability, but they kind of need each other in order to have this all work together. I think it's just a device the writer is trying to use to have to throw these 2 people together. So with the start of this journey, you have 2 key elements that are done all the time in TV and film. The first is called a MacGuffin. This is a term created by Alfred Hitchcock just as a nonsense word to describe something or an object, a physical object that your character or your hero or your protagonist needs to get. It represents an object which is a goal that needs to be attained. So in this, the Phoenix Gem is the MacGuffin. The second element is a ticking time bomb. This is also from Alfred Hitchcock. So for example, you have a table and underneath it there's a bomb which has a timer on it and you gain tension because you watch as it gets closer and closer. So in this movie, the ticking time bomb is the 24-hour cutoff that they need to get this done before the cutoff happens and their father disappears forever. And then the rest of the movie, they just go on this adventure with their father's pants as they travel to find this Phoenix Gem to finally get their father back for the remainder of that 24 hours to say goodbye to him one last time. So there were a lot of really good things about this movie. The voice acting was great, the animation is great, typical Pixar. But the script. So if any of you guys are aspiring filmmakers or screenwriters out there, it's very important that if you have a payoff, you need a setup to the payoff. So for instance, if I'm a character and at the end of the movie I show this flash of bravery and courage, earlier in the movie you need to show that I'm kind of a coward. So I have a character arc in development, so I start here and I end up over here. That is exactly what this movie does not have. I'll expand on that a little bit in a second when I go into spoilers so I can use very specific examples, but I should just tell you that in our group of people watching this at the end of the movie, it was kind of divided halfway down the middle. Some people liked it, some people were kind of eh. And to be honest, before the box offices closed, it was one of the lowest grossing Pixar movies ever. But there was one guy who was really moved and really touched by it, but I think it's because he has a personal connection with that, with his father. He lost his father as a child too. That totally makes sense to me, and if this movie really spoke to you, I think that's amazing, because that's what film and media is all about. Art should inspire, art should touch us. But from the script level, which makes this different than a lot of other Pixar projects, there is one major flaw which is repeated over and over and over and over. So I'm going to get into spoilers a little bit, so if you haven't seen the movie or want to see the movie, this is your time to shut the video off. The problem that repeats over and over and over is what I just said, which is there is payoff, but there is no setup. This part here, the setup part, the beginning is vastly underdeveloped. For instance, the entire idea of the movie is that these two brothers go on a journey to find their dad, but they find each other. However, it was never set up that these two brothers have any kind of conflict. It's not set up that they have any kind of thing that they're not getting along. They seem to get along fine. So in the end, when they kind of come together, you're like, I thought they were already good brothers. For this to have an impact, it has to have a 180-degree change from this. And again, if any of you guys are writers out there, it's called development or a story arc. You start here and you end up here. With this movie, they were kind of good brothers before and they end up kind of good brothers over here. So all this stuff in the middle kind of didn't need to happen. What they should have done is had there be all this conflict between them in the beginning, or they just didn't get along, or they hated each other, and then they were forced to be together, and at the end, they love each other. I think the screenwriter realized that halfway through because they tried to create this conflict midway where Ian has to tell the truth and he thinks that his brother is a screw-up. But there is nowhere in the beginning of the movie at all established that this brother is a screw-up or that Ian feels this way about him. That comment and idea just kind of came out of left field. This mom shows this great heroism at the end, but it's not established that in the beginning she's just some normal suburban mom and hates it. The fact that Ian has this great magic power doesn't really do much because he didn't really seem to want magic power. So he got something he didn't really want, doesn't really deserve, so I'm just like, eh. It would have been better for him to really want to do magic and never be able to do it. And then he goes on this journey and he goes on this character arc where he suddenly is able to do it. Having someone get an ability which they don't even want or care about in the beginning, again, it's a payoff with no setup. The entire relationship with Ian and Barley and their father, we never see any of that relationship, so we don't know what we're missing. It would have been much stronger like in Up, for instance, another Pixar picture, where you saw that 5 minutes of some of the most beautiful love story ever about this man and his wife and how they age together, and then you just feel it. That was such a good movie. But with this movie, you get none of that. You don't feel any of that relationship, so you don't know what they're missing. You're just told that they like their father. They're just told that they miss their dad. You don't see any of that relationship, so we don't know what we're missing and what we're trying to get over here. Again, it's all payoff but no setup. We're told that Barley likes Dungeons and Dragons type games and is really into magic, but we don't see that in the beginning. And this is a big lesson for all your writers and something that I dealt with personally. There's a saying in the industry which is show, don't tell, which means you show people things. You don't just say, hey, this person likes Dungeons and Dragons. You show the person doing Dungeons and Dragons. We don't even know how the father died or why was he even interested in magic in his later life. We're just kind of thrown information. It's never explained. It just kind of happens and here you go. The term for that is called exposition. It's information being said for the viewer who is sort of eavesdropping on the conversation between two other people. And if you're a good writer, you try to make exposition hidden in conversations and try to, again, show, not tell. Those little pixie gang members, we were just told that somehow they just lost the ability to fly. No explanation, they just somehow lost that ability. And then somehow magically they got that ability to fly when they were in a bad situation, as if that was the only bad situation the pixie has been in the last 1,000 years. None of it's explained. So any of you guys who are writers out there, take this as a good lesson for you. So guys, that is my review of Onward by Pixar. I know some of you may have loved it, which is awesome. I just don't think it's as broadly appealing as other projects, and I think largely it's because the writing was such a misfire. There was so much payoff with no setup. Had that been changed from the script level, I think it could have been amazingly impactful. As it turns out, it's sort of niche impactful, which is sad because I love Pixar. So anyways, I will talk to you later, guys, and that's a wrap.